Thulasizwe Simelane now joins us to tell us what's coming up on the show this evening. Tulas, it is edging closer and closer and closer to that all-important Heads of State and Government Summit that will take place. In fact, starting on Friday, there's been tests and drills all across Gauteng province. Some people struggling to make their way through the province as law enforcement agencies are doing test runs for what traffic flows will be like. So it means it's as we said in 2010, Philip, it is here. What are you looking at tonight?
You're absolutely spot on. Feel it, it is here. It is almost here, Oliver. And you're absolutely right to point to those dry runs because now it talks to the security arrangements, the traffic flow arrangements, and where the traffic will need to be blocked as and when the leaders start arriving for the Leaders Summit, which starts on the 22nd of November, 22nd and 23rd of November. This evening, we take another theme that has been central to South Africa's presidency of the G20, and we are talking about the digital economy. And the question we are asking is, how can Africa accelerate an inclusive digital economy? And the reason we do that is that much of the commentary that has been looking at the G20 presidency of South Africa has included this argument that says there's potential for South Africa to use this presidency to drive the digital inclusion of Africa. Let me just tease you a little bit with a bit of information, Oliver. Who do you believe uses the most internet? Who spends the most time on the internet in the world?
I would assume it's the unemployed, so Africa, as a function of time spent online.
Spot on. We lead. South Africans spend the most time on the internet in the world, an average of 9 hours and 37. We are followed by Brazil, Philippines, Chile, and others. But on average, in terms of penetration of internet connectivity, that continues to be a challenge for the African continent. So we've got about 27% mobile internet penetration connectivity in sub-Saharan Africa. You contrast that with the global average of about 69% penetration. So that tells you the need is there. People want to be connected, but the challenges of infrastructure continue to hinder that connectivity, with some 800 million people on the African continent said to have, less than meaningful connectivity to the internet. So in this digital age, then, that's where we ask the question that how can this platform of interaction at a global level, where some of the key and influential economic leaders in the world gather, leaders of the influential economies of the world gather, with multilateral development agencies also in the room, the African Union and the EU also in the room, how can Africa and South Africa in particular drive that agenda? To help us unpack that, I'll be joined by the Minister of Communications, Thulasizwe, as well as Professor Bartholomew Amar, who is Senior Economic Advisor at the AU Development Agency and NEPAD, as well as Professor Bukosi Marivate of University of Pretoria, and lastly, Garth Scholz of the South African Broadband Networks.
Yeah. Speaking of internet connectivity, two nights ago, Thulas, I had a conversation with a hotel and estate operator here in Johannesburg that will be hosting two of the nations. One of those nations will be bringing in their own internet infrastructure that is apparently impenetrable when they visit South Africa for 5 days across the span of their visit. So the other residents and occupiers of those facilities, unfortunately, will be cut off from the internet when they have to exit the facility to be able to access the internet there. Just speaks to that security element of it. Just a fun tidbit there. Thank you so much for that, Thulas. We'll be tuning in tonight as per usual when Thulasizwe takes a look at the G20, which is edging closer and closer to the Heads of State Summit.